Inclusion. It's a word we hear all the time, right? And of course, we're all for it. But what if I told you that a lot of what we call inclusion is, well, something else entirely? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the difference between real, true inclusion and its common look-alike, and why getting this right is so, so important.
All right, let's just dive right in. This quote, it totally gets to the heart of it. It's saying, hey, the real conversation isn't about our physical differences. It's about our essence, our dreams, our will to be and to do in life. You know? True inclusion, it starts right there, recognizing that shared humanity in every single person, no exceptions.
And this image just perfectly illustrates that core idea. I mean, think about it this way. Inclusion is like an open door. It's a society inviting you in to enjoy everything it has to offer. But exclusion, that's a locked gate. You can't come in here sign. It's really that simple, but also that profound. One is about belonging, the other is about being shut out.
But, getting to that open door society it's trickier than it sounds. So many well-meaning efforts, they fall into this really common trap. They aim for inclusion, but what they actually achieve is just integration. So let's break down that crucial difference.
So what exactly is integration? Well, it's kind of like saying to a student, okay, here's a key to our school. Now, it's on you to figure out how to get the door open, how to get around the halls, and how to fit into our system. You see, the system itself doesn't change. The entire burden of adapting is on the individual.
Now, inclusion flips that whole script. It says, wait a minute, let's redesign the school so that every door is already wide open for every student. It's not about changing the person to fit the system, it's about changing the system to fit the person. Huge difference.
And what's so fascinating here is how deep this difference really goes. I mean, just look at the language. Integration talks about special educational needs, or NEE. That puts the focus on what's supposedly wrong with the student, right? But inclusion, it talks about barriers to learning and participation, or BAP. And that correctly points the finger at the problem, the system itself. Wow, that's a massive shift in perspective.
Okay, so here's the thing. This isn't just about words. This isn't just semantics. When policy gets this distinction wrong, the consequences are incredibly real and damaging. Let's take a look at a case study from Mexico to see exactly what happens when good intentions just don't cut it.
And here's a perfect example. A huge educational reform was launched in Mexico, all under the banner of inclusion. I mean, it was a central part of the whole plan. But when researchers really dug into it, you know what they found? It was just the same old integration model with a shiny new label slapped onto it. The words changed, sure, but the fundamental mindset? Not at all.
And this just puts teachers in an absolutely impossible position. Can you imagine you want to do what's best for a child, just on a human level, but you're handcuffed by a rigid system that forces you to treat them like another box to check. That is the daily, grinding reality for so many educators who are just caught between their own conscience and the rulebook. You can actually see this struggle play out over decades. So Mexico's journey starts with integration, way back in 1993. That model even gets strengthened in 2002. But then, in 2013, in a move that experts literally called a severe blow to progress, that focus program gets dissolved. It's just a stark reminder of how fragile progress can be and how easily it can be undone.
Okay, so that's the view from 30,000 feet, right? The policy and the history. Now let's get down to the human front lines and see how this conflict between policy and people actually plays out in the real world.
Because, behind all the policies and the academic theories, there are real people. People with real fears, real frustrations, and real hopes. So what does this actually feel like on the ground?
Let's take the workplace. Our own unfamiliarity can become a huge barrier. We might have these unspoken thoughts like, are they only being hired for a tax break? Or is this going to create more work for me? Or even just, I don't know how to act around them. These fears, they build an invisible wall before a person even gets a chance to show what they can do.
But then, when we actually listen to the voices of people with disabilities, we hear a completely different story. Just take Ricardo, for example. He puts it so simply. We are all people who are capable. For him, having a job wasn't about getting a handout. It was his path to independence, to self-respect, to not having to depend on anyone.
And then, on the other side of that coin, you have these dedicated teachers who are just burning out. And listen, this teacher's words, this isn't a sign of weakness. It's an indictment of a system that has left them feeling totally unsupported, unprepared, and ill-equipped to do the very job they love.
So, if integration isn't the answer and our current systems are often failing the very people they're supposed to serve, what is the right way to think about this? What does true inclusion actually look like? What's the right mindset?
Well, we tend to fall into two big cultural traps. First, there's what you might call the overprotection matrix, right? The bubble wrap approach. We try to shield people with disabilities from the world, but all that does is hold them back. Then there's the effort matrix, the superhero narrative, where we expect them to overcome every single obstacle all by themselves. But see the problem? Both are flawed because they put the focus right back on the individual, instead of on the environment.
Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, true inclusion isn't just about an action, like building a ramp. It's an attitude. It's a whole system of values that requires us to rethink everything: power, language, and our relationships with each other. It's a fundamental shift from us and them to just we.
And that brings us to this incredibly powerful idea. True inclusion, it's a kind of delicate dance. It means we have the right to be treated as equal when being different is used to make us inferior. We demand to be treated the same. But we also have the right to be different when the pressure for equality or sameness threatens to strip away who we are. It's about having the freedom to be both equal and different.
So here's the bottom line. Inclusion isn't about fixing people. It's never been about that. It's about fixing the world that we all have to share. And that's a job for every single one of us. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's one barrier, just one, in your own world, maybe at work, at school, in your community? What's one barrier that you can help remove? Because every single time we tear one down, we get one step closer to a world where everyone truly belongs.